There's this video, guys, of Taraji P. Henson. I know her as Carter from Person of Interest. Mary knows her as the mom from that awful Karate Kid movie.
That awful movie that you like.
That's why I said her in a very judgy tone before the show today. A lot of people know her as she was in the show Empire with Jussie Smollett. Take of that what you will.
Did she believe Jussie?
I think she believed Jussie.
She's that's all you need to know. Well, she was doing an interview recently where she begins crying and treating it like a therapy session because she feels she has been underpaid throughout her career.
Yeah.
So let's play this video. It's almost cringe of the day, but not quite.
Almost. The cringe we have
almost
is just
made
more.
it. Yeah.
I'm just tired of working.
End the sentence there.
Me too.
So hard. Being gracious at what I do. Getting paid a fraction of the cost. I'm only human, and it seems every time I do something and I break another glass ceiling, when it's time to renegotiate, I'm at the bottom again like I never did what I just did, and I'm just tired. I'm tired. I'm tired.
I get that.
It wears on you, you know? Because what does that mean? What is that telling me?
What is it telling me? Yeah.
They don't know
So
what
what
to
does it tell
say.
me?
She's worth anywhere between 16 and 25 million, according to the internet. We don't know how accurate that is.
Wait, no,
You know-
continue the video, though. She ends it on a dramatic note.
And if I can't fight for them coming up behind me, then what the fuck am I doing? I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, don't apologize.
Who does she think she's fighting for?
It's kind of like Jonathan Majors saying, like, he's like, I'm a great man and I'm doing great things for my people and for entertainment. They're doing great things. Look.
Does every black person in Hollywood think they're a civil rights activist? Like, get over yourselves.
Well, I mean, I don't know that every black person does, but I think that being a civil rights activist is a vehicle to fame, or it augments your fame, maybe.
Being an activist in general, but they
Yeah.
seem to think of themselves as these historic figures that are going to be remembered for all time as having broken glass ceilings.
Yeah, I mean,
not true.
And you're right. That's all clown nose bullshit because, like, all of the milestones. I mean, everyone has seen Hollywood and people make claims about being the first something when like 30 years ago was the first. Like, who was the girl that played
Jennifer Lawrence said she was the first action
exactly
hero ever.
Like, come on, like Ripley and like in the 70s Alien came out, but
Like, how can I do something that's completely self-serving?
Yeah,
Frame
so
it as
They
altruism.
make up records now. The other thing is she says, I'm breaking glass ceilings. I'm like, being the
No.
first at doing something doesn't mean it made any money.
What was she the first at doing
I have no
anyway?
idea.
I don't even. Yeah, I don't believe that she is. Like, that's the thing. It's all this stolen valor about being the first because all of them. Because now there's such a high value on being, an activist and that kind of stuff. And but at the same time, there are so few places where you can actually do something that's progressive. You know.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Too, because she was in the show Person of Interest, which is my favorite show of all time, and Person of Interest made it to 100 episodes. So theoretically, that means that it got it became something that could go into syndication, right? So you could be watching an episode somewhere, and she was through 3 full seasons of that show, so she would be getting residuals on that show if it's playing on any network station. I don't know if that's happening. But this is just one of those things where they like, if you're breaking the glass ceiling, being the first of doing something doesn't mean that that product made any money, right? And the other thing is like, look, hire a better agent and don't settle for less than you think you're worth.
You're right, but all that is that accepts their premise as true, and I reject the idea that they're in any way pioneers.
No, I'm saying I'm beyond that. I'm saying hire a better agent.
Yeah.
Stay and do not take a contract unless you get what you think that you're owed. And if they don't take you up on your offer, then that tells you something too. It just might not be fun to hear.
She's implying, if not saying explicitly, that this is a structural problem of systemic racism in Hollywood, because she continued and said, I'm tired of hearing my sisters say the same thing over and over. You get tired. I hear people go, you work a lot. Well, I have to. The math ain't mathing. When you start working a lot, you have a big team. Big bills come with what we do. We don't do this alone. It's a whole team behind us. They have to get paid. When you hear someone go, such and such made $10 million, that didn't make it to their account. Off the top, Uncle Sam is getting 50%.
I do
now
agree
we have
with her on that.
$5
That
million.
sucks.
Your team is getting 30% of what you gross, not after what Uncle Sam took. Now do the math.
Okay, so these are all problems that, you know, business owners, anyone that's a business owner is familiar with the idea of operating costs.
Yeah.
And I don't feel bad for you. Like, do you know how much money it costs to run a tour for a month? Like a bus with a full crew, like just the small end kind of stuff. Like if you're doing like a theater tour where you've got one bus and your crew and your band, right? Like that is going to cost you at least $500,000, right? You know, so it's like the idea that you have this exclusive, unique complaint to the cost of doing business. Like, everybody pays taxes. Everybody has overhead to do their own business. You're a contractor. Get over it.
I watched, so somebody else made a comment on here that said, they mentioned, first we got a $20 chat here from Crispy Leg Transport LLC. He says, besides POI, that's person of interest, she played mostly black female stereotypes. She was, did somebody say she was in The Curious Case of Benjamin Button?
She was.
Back in the day. Okay, so yeah, you know, smaller market for shows that are specifically targeted to black audiences mean that you won't get the return on investment, which means that you won't make the money that you're making if you're making a show that has a wider demographic reach, right? But so somebody said in the comments, they said, you know, the saying, what we mentioned yesterday, said, you know, the saying, never attribute to malice what is more easily explained with stupidity. Somebody said never attribute to bigotry what is more easily explained by capitalism.
Well,
and,
this reminds
they were
me
saying
of-
it, that she just doesn't understand how business works.
Yeah.
This reminds me of Sydney Sweeney complaining about how she has to work.
Yeah.
Even though she has been in big roles, she feels like she's been enslaved because she has to continue working in order to have a living.
Yeah.
And she's 26 saying this as if she's in the position to retire.
Yep.
And she just bought this big mansion in Calabasas and she's wondering,
Oh my God.
why
this
she
hurts.
has to continue working.
This
Like,
hurts.
being an actress doesn't mean that you should be able to retire in your 20s. That's not a realistic idea for anyone in society.
The entitlement, like you live in Calabasas, like there is going to be it's going to be expensive to live
I mean, most
there.
26-year-olds can't buy themselves a tiny starter house, let alone that.
No, God, no.
But
I mean,
she feels she's in a position to complain.
I don't imagine there's any houses in Calabasas that are under like $5 million, because our producer lives in Lakewood and I know his house is over $1 million. You know, it's like and Lakewood is in Calabasas, you know, so.
It's just, I think a lot of his people are just, it's the victimhood complex, right? It's very easy to sell this. And the interesting was, I looked at this article on 3 or 4 separate, a section of Twitter was talking about this, the article, and wherever you find the article, you'll get people with different opinions. Now, the people who were talking about it on Twitter were like, yes, she deserves, and they always use these really vague terms, she deserves to be paid fairly. Well, what the hell is fairly? What the hell does that mean? It's meaningless.
That is exactly. It's just meaningless, empty complaint, rhetorical garbage. They're
The
just
money
like,
should come from the money fairy
Yes.
who makes it fair for everyone.
And it hurts me to have to say this, because as an actress, I liked her in that show that I liked so much. And even Mary liked her in something that I don't know if you liked her character, but she liked the movie.
I didn't remember that she was in
but
that
the point
movie,
is
so.
but the thing is that like these podcasts that have them on, like these actors, they're incentivized to have these types of discussions. And I just don't know how the culture shifted, because I feel like back in the day, you would have always laughed an actor out of the room if they said something like this, because gratitude was expected of you.
I mean, you were even called a sellout for trying to make more money back in the 2000s. Like when YouTubers started to become a thing, when being a YouTuber became a viable career path, you were looked down upon for taking ad sponsorships or selling merchandise. Also, bands were called sellouts if they openly did ad sponsorships or sold merch or whatever. They were called sellouts back then.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And these days, that behavior
You're supposed
is
to enjoy
applauded.
the struggle.
Yeah, like when I got into when I started playing music like in a metal band, sellout was like the ultimate insult because it was post the 80s, right? So it's like 80s, like the whole excess of the 80s and everybody all glammed up and blah blah blah. When I was in my first band in like 1993, all that stuff had just gotten the kibosh. Everybody's just like, no more.
Yeah.
And so like if you looked like you were trying too hard to put on a show, like you didn't want to get on stage and look like you were wearing like stage clothes, that was unacceptable in the circles that I ran. And if you did, you were selling out because you were not being your authentic self. You weren't there to play the music. You were there to dance around and make people look at you and blah blah blah. The only way you were authentic is if you looked like a normal dude that you would see walking around the mall, and then got on stage, played the show, then you were about your music. Then it was pure. Otherwise, you were a sellout.
And now audiences are complaining about how the creatives aren't paid enough and how they're not selling out enough. And that's just bizarre to see people flip
Even
so
in skating, Disney made a movie called Brink and talked about soul skaters who don't skate for sponsorships. They skate because they love it. And in the industry, basically got people to believe like if you don't love to do it, if you don't do it because you love it, well then you're not actually into it, right? How dare you want to make any money off of it? So it's a tale as old as time that seems to be changing because the culture seems to go this way where we feel sorry for these artists because victimhood is such popular currency now.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.